And hello, everyone. Looks like that is working. Good. So we've got the microphone on, and yeah, I think we're all connected and plugged in. The excitement being that I was told about 5 minutes ago on my phone to head indoors and take shelter because of the tornado. So that's fun. Thanks, Game Escape. So hopefully, I'm not going to get blown away while in the middle of our Friday live stream. I'm pretty safe here. This is fairly deep indoors, and I'm in the basement of the giant SDF1 in which I live. Hey, Jay. So not too worried about that, but that's a bit of an excitement about the world and what's going on with my life. Hope you all are having a much happier life, much more relaxed time. I've had a pretty busy week, but getting slightly less busy heading into the weekend. Hope to have a fairly quiet weekend. How are you guys? Hoping you're all having a quiet weekend upcoming. Let me go ahead and pull up the news. Obviously, I posted the spring anime guide. Relatively quiet season in terms of the licensing stuff. Let's see here. See what else. Well, we definitely have some news stories today. Let's get a little bit more material here. See anything see what's going on. Various licenses. Crunchyroll adding more Attack on Titan. Not a big shock there. Various licenses of stuff going on. Spice and Wolf VR anime. I remember hearing something about that. See what's going on there. Yeah, it's kind of nice. See what's going on. Yeah, thanks, Jay. I definitely feel better than last week. Things seem to be in better state now that I've relaxed a few things. Glad to hear that, Paper Dinosaur. Hey, Mike. Good to see you. What you been watching recently, Paper Dinosaur? Just 1 second as I skim a bit through the news here. Stand by. Ion control. Fire. That's cool. Okay, I think that's all that stuff. So let's see what's going on in the news. Few folks passed away this week, sadly. Kazuo Koike, creator of Lone Wolf and Cub, and author of a number of other things. Samurai Executioner, Crying Freeman, Lady Snowblood, Mad Bull, etc. Passed away at the age of 82 from pneumonia. Very sad. Also, Monkey Punch, the creator of Lupin III, passed away this week. Hell's saying Wolf's Rain, Macross Plus, Yuri Nice Death Parade. That is quite a list. That is awesome, Paper Dinosaur. Nice mix of classic and newer stuff. Very good. As I did indeed check out We Never Learn. Enjoyed that quite a bit. Hope to watch more of that. It was a fun one. Crunchyroll will simulcast the Gundam The Origin 13-episode TV series recompilation thing starting April 28th. That's cool. Let's see what else. Violet Evergarden getting a side story anime in September, in preparation for the film project January 10th. Pretty cool. They unveiled a new key image, which is absurdly detailed. Let's see here. Vic Mignogna has filed a lawsuit against Funimation, claiming defamation, interference in existing contracts, and civil conspiracy over his Twitter posts and their investigation. Let's see here. Basically, because he's lost business. Interesting. Gotcha. He's posted a statement on Twitter saying he has reluctantly retained a law firm as his last and only recourse to attempt to salvage a reputation and 20-year career in the industry. That's going to be tough. Yeah, agreed, Jay. We Never Learn seems like a fun twist on the concept of kind of the harem idea. I'm definitely interested to see where it goes. Only watched the first episode, so not sure where else it goes, but it seems pretty interesting. So I'm liking the characters. I'm up for those characters. So let's see. Spice Mobile VR anime is slated for June 3rd on Oculus Rift, Go, HTC Vive. No PSVR or Oculus Quest date. The Japanese voice actors are returning. Interesting. It does seem like it's going to be a full-scale Spice and Wolf story. The original creator is writing the scenario, and the illustrator is doing is credited with the character design, so they're basing it off of that. That's pretty cool. So it's going to be like a full anime version, a full VR version of an anime story. Interesting. I'll be very curious to see how that goes. Watch Lane. Nice, Paper Dinosaur. Yeah, Lane is definitely a memorable show, isn't it? Comixology and Kodansha Comics are going to release all of Initial D manga in English. They released volumes 1 to 38 digitally, which marks the first time that volumes 34 to 38 have been released in English. So they've got all of it out there. Volumes 39 to 48 will debut later this year. So that's pretty cool. So if you're looking for Initial D, it's going to be pretty much all out there in, at least on Comixology and Kodansha Comics. I'm sorry, on Comixology rather. And of course, you can do the standard Amazon Prime, Kindle Unlimited stuff. Up to this point, it was only available through Tokyo Pop. That's pretty awesome. 29-year-old man in Mie arrested for distributing various anime via BitTorrent. He allegedly distributed about 30 different popular anime and live-action TV series titles. And he's reported to have said, "I wanted it to be seen by everyone and released it." So, looks like it's one of those things where he's a little more obvious than the average person. Not exactly doing it on the down low. And drawing the Franks, cool. I need to watch that one of these days. Himote House, the staff of Himote House launched a crowdfunding campaign for an unaired OVA episode, and it met its goal in one day. $31,000 goal for an episode 10.5 at the same level of quality as the previous ones on DVD. And then $47,000 US for that episode on Blu-ray disc. It's already passed all of that. So that's pretty cool. I actually got a review of Himote House coming up on the channel because I enjoyed that a lot. Just a not just a fun, but also a surprisingly well written little screwball comedy, Himote House. Directed by the guy who did GD Fairies. Hoping to do that. It's an all CGI series, so if you don't like that, it's not going to be for you. But it's kind of interesting. Let's see, and then what's this? Toho's investing in an international subsidiary. $138 million worth put into its LA-based international subsidiary. Part of its Toho Vision 2021 midterm management plan, involving partnerships that include Godzilla King of the Monsters and Pokemon Detective Pikachu. So it looks like we're going to see a lot more from Toho over here in America, which is always a good thing. Toho is definitely one of the heavy hitters in the anime and sort of the geek world, Godzilla and all that stuff, which a lot of folks enjoy. It's kind of interesting that crossover between anime fans and like kaiju film fans, sci-fi fans, fantasy fans. There's definitely a lot of overlap. That Venn diagram is, the circles are pretty close on each other for folks who like Godzilla and such. And I think it's always good to have a lot of different interests because those can overlap in fun ways. You can get to, you can get into Godzilla, and then there's also the Godzilla material to explore. Maybe you could do that through some of the Godzilla anime, right? There are a lot of different options there, and there's just some really cool stuff. I just discovered that I have a live action Japanese sci-fi movie called Gunhead about this giant like tank that's going through this sort of post-apocalyptic, over-industrialized area, and it's based on a manga by Kiya Asamiya of Silent Mobius and a bunch of other stuff. Turns out, if I recall it correctly, I think that was how that connected. Gunhead, film, starring music by, directed by, release reception. I'm not seeing information on that, but that's what I remember seeing. That it was based on a story by Kiya Asamiya. Might be wrong on that one. Who knows? Cheesy film. Live action film with Big O. Totally. Yeah. Big O would be really interesting in live action. And one of the nice things is, because the anime is so stylized, folks aren't going to be comparing the visuals of the film directly to the visuals of the anime. you want it to be similar, right? But you're not going to expect the live action version of that to look, color by color like the anime series. Kind of the Dick Tracy film, where it's not going to look like the comic strip. So I think Big O would be a great one for live action. I think actually Silent Mobius would be good. Reading that Silent Mobius manga, I was like, a fun sort of supernatural crossed with cyberpunk live action film. Give me more of that. Absolutely, I think, and since we're moving more and more towards a world with a lot of cross-genre stuff, Hellboy and Guardians of the Galaxy stuff that's not just like pure cerebral science fiction or pure space opera, whatever. I think you can really cross and blend genres more effectively than you could before. There's a lot of cool stuff. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, we are going to get to that point where you'll be able to do in live action just really wild stuff. I think Alita is a great example of that, where there's that's something that it would not be possible 10, 20 years ago, much less 50. Um, that's interesting there, Paper Dinosaur. You gotta collect, but you don't watch. Yeah, that's a thing. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I would certainly say, at some point when you're collecting it is worthwhile to watch the stuff. It would be silly to kind of have a giant anime collection, none of which you'd ever seen. Um, but it's totally fine to collect. I've got a lot of anime I've never seen that I have on DVD or Blu-ray, and I just haven't gotten to yet. That's fine. Consumption's an odd thing. It's also a question of kind of how you watch things, right? Like, um, I'm not a I'm not one of these people who watch anime with other things going on. Right? I don't have a laptop up or a tablet up or a phone up while I'm watching anime. I I focus and watch that anime and really study it because that's just what I'm used to. That's what I like to do is to really soak in every frame of that anime. Other folks don't do that, which is again is kind of fine. That's cool. Isn't it nice to kind of have something that you've been holding on to for months, maybe years, that and you always wondered kind of what is this? And you've seen the cover, you've seen the back, you've seen the material around it. You never actually dug into it. And you're like, man, that would be, that's interesting. And you dig into it and you actually find out, oh, this is what this is. Not what I expected. Outlaw Star is a great example. I remember seeing clips of that and footage of that and getting an idea in my head of what Outlaw Star was. But then when I actually started sitting down and watching episodes, I was like, oh, this is different. This is more than what I thought it would be. Outlaw Star being one of the premier space opera kind of anime airing on Toonami back in the early 2000s, I suppose. A show from I think 1999 or so, around that period. We came over here a few years later, and yeah, we interesting to see if and when we get to that point where you can actually like make a show like Outlaw Star or Cowboy Bebop or whatever fairly inexpensively. And this technology becomes ubiquitous enough that you can just pull these things together and tell these stories. I think it's really cool. I think it'd be really fun to be able to see people say, "I'm just going to do my own space opera, show." Yeah, I don't know. I came across a collection of gifts from original Macross, Super Dimension Fortress Macross from '83 or '82 was it? '82 I think. Um, and man, the animation in Macross is just. I mean, there are some very goofy moments. Animation is not all great in Macross, but when it's going, oh man, it is mind-boggling. In many cases, unsurpassed in modern times. There are some shots there where I just go, oh, that is just beautiful work, and we have not seen stuff at that level in many ways since then. There's some other great '80s stuff. But yeah, '90s were an interesting time because '90s were a little more experimental. There's a lot more stuff aimed at an older audience, and the confluence of those things, the fact that you had strange shows that could be weird, but they could also not just be weird in the service of the mass audience, but in the service of the otaku demographic or just the general, the general slightly more adult fan, like the late teen fan. Yeah, timing is everything. Absolutely. It's a bit darker, definitely. Post Akira, Akira definitely being the progenitor of that, and folks definitely wanting to follow suit and be as get all that Akira money, which happens sometimes and didn't always happen. It's always dangerous to try to follow the leader because sometimes people only want the leader; they don't want you. But yeah, you definitely got some, a lot of darker stuff, a lot of grittier stuff, a lot of more serious stuff compared to the 80s. Not that the 80s wasn't serious, didn't have serious stuff. In fact, the 80s had some kind of grimdark material, but the 90s tended to be a little bit more playful. Again, Outlaw Star compared to, I'm trying to think of some of the 80s stuff. Demon City Shinjuku, I guess. That was, I guess, early 90s. What's the really dark one of the man and woman team who are fighting off demons that are attacking people in modern Tokyo? Can't remember that one. The movie. Thinking like Dark City or something, but that's a very different thing. Don't know. But yeah, so you had that kind of like weird, really grotesque stuff in the 80s, and then the 90s brought Tenchi Muyo and Outlaw Star and Al Hazard and Ranma and Half. I mean, Ranma started in the 80s, but it's really primarily a 90s franchise. Ditto like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, where like DBZ started in the 80s, I believe, like 89 or something, but it's really a 90s thing. Come on, Focus. Figure yourself out. There we go. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how things have changed over time. And the 2000s became very safe because of how things changed. And the economics became such that things became very hard. Like the cyberpunk kind of anime, nice. Hyper Police. Yeah, reading Silent Mobius made me realize how much I've been wanting a cyberpunk story for a while. I really like the cyberpunk genre. I think it's often done poorly, as with anything, I suppose. But just a really wild cyberpunk story is a lot of fun. I've never seen Hyper Police. I'd like to at some point. In terms of cyberpunk anime, there's not much I've seen actually. Ghost in the Shell, obviously. Gosh, what else? What other cyberpunk have I seen? Appleseed, kind of, technically, sort of. Huh. Yeah, not a lot coming to mind. That's odd. I don't know why. Steam Boy is more steampunk. I'm talking more cyberpunk. Ergo Proxy, nice, yeah. We're gonna hopefully finish up Ergo Proxy here pretty soon on the Anime Club. We're partway through Eccentric Family, so we'll finish that up over the next few weeks. But then I think we'll finish up Ergo Proxy. I finally got my Funimation thing resolved, so we'll be able to finish up Ergo Proxy, which is pretty cool. Is Gantz cyberpunk? It's certainly like cyberpunk adjacent. It's certainly close. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. My goodness. There we go. You have the. I mean, is Metropolis cyberpunk? Not really. It's sort of retro punk. Trying to think of anime with a lot of neon and androids. Armitage the Third. That's definitely cyberpunk. There's an anime no one talks about anymore. We want to talk about obscure Armitage the Third, which I recall being just kind of really dull until the very end. And the very end, they just do some really interesting animation stuff. Yeah. I wouldn't call it fractal cyberpunk, but I see where you're coming from. It's sort of a solar punk. I don't know. It's sort of a future punk kind of a thing. More of just like sci-fi, maybe. Is Dot Hack cyberpunk? I don't know. Like there's certainly a cyberpunk aspect to Dot Hack in the sense that they're, in this virtual environment and trying to kind of fight it back against the man. But it doesn't feel like cyberpunk in that kind of gritty way. I would say Dot Hack. And you got stuff like, boy, you want obscure Catnapped. That's more steampunk. It's very steampunk. Kind of uh, childhood steampunk, childish steampunk. Gosh, other cyberpunk anime. I feel like I'm missing something. Something obvious. Patlabor, is Patlabor cyberpunk? No. Patlabor is more just um, near future sci-fi, I guess. Because there's not much punk. I mean, it's all about authority, and cyberpunk is anti-authority in a way. Although it's funny because Ghost in the Shell is considered classic cyberpunk, and it's about police. Um, so I don't know where you'd go with that. Look at the manga wall. Is Blam cyberpunk? I think you could call it cyberpunk. Not very cyber though. I mean, I guess so. Psychopaths maybe. The Disney Plus announcement. I only heard about it in passing. Disney Plus. Let me just pull up a quick article here. Disney Plus. $7 a month. Exclusive content. Eventually, all Disney's library. It'll include Frozen, Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars. I'm looking for anything like kind of obviously indicating an anime thing. I mean, obviously, Miyazaki is one of those things where you're like, what's going to go on here? Is that going to be part of the whole set? Various shows, things planned. Okay. Yeah, hard to say. They don't own they don't own the rights to Ghibli. Buena Vista licensed Hayao Miyazaki's movies for some length of time. But it's like Funimation. It's like anything where those rights aren't necessarily forever, and those rights aren't necessarily for everything. Right? Those are probably DVD and Blu-ray rights. They may not have the streaming rights to any of Ghibli's stuff. In fact, I'd be. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd be surprised if they have the streaming rights. But there's no indication they have streaming rights. I mean, we haven't seen Ghibli streaming in America on any of Disney's stuff. So I don't know. It's an interesting question whether you'd have that material. Do they own the rights? Big question mark. And here's the problem with this is that nobody else probably could afford to. Right? Who else is going to get the streaming rights to Ghibli's films? Disney's probably the only one. And so if they don't have the streaming rights, we're probably not going to get Ghibli streaming. Sadly. So that's going to be an issue. Or that's going to be an unfortunate thing where we may just not have Ghibli available on internet streaming if Disney either doesn't have the rights or is not interested in pursuing those rights, in locking down those rights, or they just may not be interested in putting it on their service. It's one of those things where it's like they may have run the numbers and said nobody, not enough people are interested in this to make it worth putting on our service. I would say, I gotta say, I mean, for $7 a month, if I had friends that I knew hadn't seen a lot of Ghibli, that might be worth it right there to be able to show Ghibli films to those people. Now, I own pretty much all of them on DVD and Blu-ray. I mean, Sony would potentially have the money, but I don't know. Actually, I can see that happening. I can see Funimation going to Sony and saying, "Hey, this is a huge opportunity for us. Can we have the money for this one license so we can lock down the Ghibli films?" That could happen. Because it would be a huge win for Ghibli. Well, I'm sorry, for Funimation to do that. And Funimation certainly has built up the reputation. They do Hosoda's films. Funimation's streaming Hosoda's films right now. So I can totally see Funimation, and they may have already done this, reaching out to Ghibli saying, "Hey, obviously we respect what you're doing. We're not going to edit it. We're not going to do any of those things. It's a different world now. Can we have those streaming rights?" Now, it would also surprise me to find that Disney has left anything on the table. If any company has all the rights, it would be Disney. They have very good lawyers, but maybe, you know, maybe it's an option. We'll see. I'm trying to wonder if there's any other Disney sort of anime related stuff. Not really that I can think of. I mean, Disney has uh, uh, done some anime work. Like they've co-funded some anime series. There's like something Cinderella something, not Cinderella Girls, not Idolmaster. But there's some Cinderella thing that is like a CGI anime that is basically like an ad for Disneyland, funded by Disney, like released under the Disney label in Japan, but it is clearly like a CGI anime thing. So Disney's willing to do that. Kind of interesting. Um, but yeah, that'd be an interesting twist. I don't know. And the interesting thing is, again, these days there would be nothing. In a sense, there's no reason for Ghibli not to let Funimation stream their stuff. Again, assuming that it's not tied up by Disney. Um, what's the downside? Right? It'll be streaming. It'll be available, but I don't know. We'll see. Now, I think one of the reasons Funimation has Hosoda's stuff is that Hosoda's stuff is distributed by Sony in Japan, so they would have had more or less first rights of refusal. Um, so that synergy kind of makes sense, where they can just say, okay, hey, we're releasing this thing in Japan. Funimation is sort of our anime releasing arm in America, so they're going to release it in America. Um, so that I don't know. It's always complicated to see how all those rights go. Um, you're right. $7 is a surprisingly low price point for Disney. I would have expected 20 a month, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Disney starts it out at 7, and then it goes up to 9, and then it goes up to maybe 12 with a $20 option, a premium option. Um, you know, Again, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney is starting it out really cheap and then they just increase that price over time, especially once folks are locked in. Like once you're paying $7 a month, you'll pay 9, and it'll just roll over to $9 and you won't care. A few folks will leave, but the large majority will stay and it'll be worth it, and they'll just keep increasing that price. Because and I say that not out of cynicism. I say that because online streaming is really effing expensive. This is a hugely difficult, hugely expensive operation, and so I cannot believe at $7 a month that Disney expects to make money. I think they might. I think I strongly suspect that it will do fine, but that seems like a loss leader. It seems like an introductory price, and then they'll go forward, and then they'll kind of see how things are. But they will probably have to raise the price in the sense that otherwise they will lose money. On the other hand, Disney could more or less subsidize it. Disney has enough money. They could say, look, this is, we are paying more for this than we actually get in, but we need a streaming service and we want to lock people into it, and it's worth it for sort of corporate strategy. So we will take the loss on that for that larger benefit, right? But we'll see. Yeah, I mean, they're all a few bucks a month, 5 to 7 ish, like Netflix. Under 10 a month. But it is interesting. I do think it was smart of Disney to come in at 7, to say, look, this is cheap. This is there's no reason not to subscribe to this, right? Yes, not everyone can afford $7 a month, but pretty much anyone with an internet connection, anyone who's paying, $80-100 a month for an internet connection, probably has enough money that $7 a month is an option. Is not out of the realm of possibility. So I can, I think that's a thing to say. Where again, not everyone can immediately afford it, but the vast majority of people are like, okay, that's something I could budget for. I could find a way of squeezing that out of my paycheck. What's the price ceiling for streaming service? I don't know. I don't think there is like one price ceiling because it depends on the service. A lot of folks would pay more for certain streaming services. If there was a streaming service out there, and maybe there is, that had like all sorts of bizarre Asian live action movies. And I know there is one kind of like that. I found it on where did I find that? I think on Kodi somewhere there was some channel. And there was some anime service. Like Verve, or not even Verve. What was it? No, there was one of the smaller streaming services that turned out to be one of like many other streaming services by this larger company, and they had this like Asian horror streaming service and all that. And like if I could find all the weird Asian sci-fi on a service and it was like $15 a month, I'd pay for that for a few months. Not forever. For anime, what's the price ceiling? Well, folks complain bitterly about Funimation. At 7, whatever it is right now. I think it's about 7. It's hard to see people going above 10. Excuse me. Don't know why I'm yawning. 10 does seem like that, that ceiling where folks are like, that's a meal. It's not a coffee. It's kind of crazy that $7 is coffee, but you get the idea. It's getting to that point where you're feeling, this is a relatively significant number of dollars as opposed to a single number of dollars. One digit instead of 2. Yeah, and I could see maybe 10 or 11, but I just don't see. And now, if it got to the point where all of them came together, excuse me again. If it was Funimation and Crunchyroll and High Dive and Central Park Media, no, they're gone. Gosh, all the different companies all coming together and saying our entire library, all of our libraries are all available on this one service, then I could see them charging $15 for that, say. But the problem here is everything else, right? Like, it's hard to feel like it's worth anime on one service for $15 a month when Netflix is 7 and Disney is 7, right? It's like, yeah, I love anime, but I could also catch up on Stranger Things and all this other stuff. So I think that is more the factor where you just can't do everything. And also we are getting to that point where, because we're diversifying now with all of these services, it used to be that folks would just subscribe to Netflix, and Netflix had enough of everything. They had a good anime selection, a good live action selection, a good TV selection. But now with folks pulling out of Netflix, if you want anime, you really want a Crunchyroll subscription, and you probably want a Funimation subscription as well. Um, and if you want Disney stuff, you're gonna have to have a Disney subscription, and that's gonna be tough. But if you want like Stranger Things or Jessica Jones or that stuff, you gotta go to Netflix. So folks are having to start to really choose. I remember back in the day when cord cutting first became a thing, and folks were like, "Look, I can just subscribe to Netflix and Hulu and these other three services, all of the streaming services basically, and it's still cheaper than my cable bill, and I get access to this massive collection of content." It's not that easy anymore because it's so fragmented now. So, yeah, it's getting to be pretty tough. The CBS All Access, Hulu, Crunchyroll, Funimation, Netflix, Disney, Verve. What other big ones? I feel like there's one or two other big ones out there as well. And it's like now that's getting to be, well, right there. That would be what? At $7 each, that's $50 a month, roughly. And again, some will be cheaper, some will be a little more, but man, that's getting into money. Again, still better than cable in most of the ways. Anime Network, are they still around? They probably are. Yeah, and that is one of the nice things. You're right, Game Escape, is that now we shifted to this thing where, um, you can start and stop any time. So it does make a lot of sense to say, okay, I'm in an anime mood. I'm going to resubscribe to Funimation for 3 months and just binge a whole bunch of stuff and then cancel. And I want kind of all the stuff on Funimation stuff, and I can kind of do that and then retreat, and maybe I do Crunchyroll for a while or Netflix, whatever. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I gotta admit, I'm kind of in a video game mood right now. Um, and it's been interesting thinking about the video game side of things because with YouTube's announcement of Stadia, um, I can see us moving towards a world of video game streaming, kind of in a similar structure, right? Where you pay for access to, the EA video game streaming service, and you get all of EA's games. Um, that would be a really interesting model. Perhaps EA is not the best, the best example because I don't know that folks are thrilled at that idea. But being able to just have a whole subscription to a whole bunch of stuff all at once, and you just watch or play whichever one you want, that would, in a sense, be kind of cool. We'll see, because we are definitely moving that direction of streaming. Right? If it works for TV, it works for movies. Why not video games? Right? It has its downsides, but so does everything. So we'll see. All right, guys. I think that's gonna do it. Did I play the Sekiro game? I did not, because Sekiro is apparently hard, and I am not a skilled video game player, and so I know I will be stuck on the first 10 minutes of that game forever, and that is just not gonna be fun for me. I don't want to play a hard game. That is just not my idea of fun. Um, there are lots of different lots of different reasons to play video games, lots of different approaches to video games, and beating your head against a challenge is just not what I'm in video games for. I'm more for exploration, story, that kind of stuff. Dragon Quest XI, I'm tempted. Definitely tempted by that. I should finish Yakuza Kiwami, because I'm like 3/4 of the way through that, so I probably should finish that up. I actually just bought Assassin's Creed Origins. No, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Excuse me. Like literally a few hours ago, I got that because it was like $20 on the PlayStation Store. I'm like, yep. I grew up loving Greek mythology, and that. So I'm really looking forward to playing Odyssey. Nope, no Dark Souls for me. I've seen people play it, and I'm like, nope, that would just frustrate me endlessly. I played video games as a kid, as a teenager, but they were more like strategy games or adventure games. Not a lot of Twitch stuff, and it was all on PC. I only just got into console gaming fairly recently. Well, I dabbled in console gaming, and so I just do not have the Twitch skills for those hard games. Cuphead, nope. I would suck at Cuphead. So I'm playing Assassin's Creed Unity. Nice. I have played no Assassin's Creed games at all. I actually have Origins like bought. I think downloaded too. No, just bought. So I'd like to play that one of these days. But I think Odyssey is gonna be my jam. Like I love Ancient Egypt, but Greece, like that's kind of where I grew up. Nice. I tried Dragon Quest Builders and like I really enjoyed it for a few hours, but then I don't know. It just kind of um, didn't really interest me that much. Great settings and art style repetitive gameplay. Fair enough. Yeah. I've heard that Odyssey has enough of a story. That there's enough variety of stuff to do in the story that it pulls you along. And yes, you're doing basically the same thing every time, but you're in different parts of Greece, and there's new characters and so forth. So it's better than other Assassin's Creed games in that sense. Again, I hear. Um, so yeah. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for me for tonight. Thank you all very much for joining me. This is a great conversation as always. Anime Club tomorrow, more of Eccentric Family Season 2. That should be fun. I actually have to go and get my truck inspected tomorrow morning, so that'll be fun. And then we'll do that. So yeah, thank you all very much. Have a great week. See you all next week. Till then, watch more anime.